Good afternoon and welcome to United TV with Bariatric Friday. My name is Kemal Erkan. Well, today I'm actually kind of excited and a little bit maybe nervous perhaps because we have a studio guest. We are going to have a discussion with Karen Riley. She's one of our patients in our bariatric program. We are going into her journey and understand her motivations, fears, and what she had to go through during the surgery, prior to surgery and post-surgery. And this is almost 5 years after the surgery, and she's here today. And we want to also know about overall emotional ups and downs throughout this journey, and then what kept her all together, and then be successful. I guess that's what we would like to hear. And Karen, welcome to the studio. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you.
Well,
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So I just want to give a little feedback, the background on the on our sessions. So we had one with you, I believe, 6-7 months ago, and that wasn't live, and we had some technical issues, and we asked you if you would be willing to come to the studio, and here you are today, and it's an honor to have a patient who is brave enough to share their journey with us, and also inspire others to see and seek for solutions for what they go through. So what I would like to know first is what motivated you to do the bariatric surgery, that kind of going through that process. I mean, many people understanding and accepting what they have at that point, it's not happening. And then you actually decided to do this. How was that process? If you can give us some details on that.
It was a long process because I went to Dr. Peters several times prior to actually being able to get the surgery because I didn't have too many medical problems at that point. So I think it was the second or third time I contacted Dr. Peters during COVID, and I had gained an extreme amount of weight at that point. Menopause didn't do me well. And my main motivation for doing it was my family. I had a daughter when I was 39, so I wanted to stay alive. And I actually had my son when I was 30, so I was actually an older mom. So, and they were very active, and I just had to show up for them. We were very busy with sports and everything, and the motivation was my children, my family, being able to stay alive for them. And the way I was feeling prior to surgery, I knew I was on a downhill slope.
So did you try other diets before the surgery?
Yes. Several years ago, I was on a really good run. I was down to probably about 209 pounds. I was doing jazzercise every day. I was working out, eating right. And then I hurt my meniscus in both of my knees. So then what happens then? All of a sudden, I can't work out.
I see.
So we go down, again, a slippery slope with that. So I tried keto, which, everybody's successful for the first, couple months with keto. It just never, it's not sustainable to eat meat constantly. And then once you come out of ketosis, then, you're then eating again. So I was up and down for many years prior to this.
So, like on day-to-day activities, did you have difficulties before the surgery? Were you having? You did mention like with the kids, with their keeping up with their activities, and many people they do watch us from different countries as well. So, I just want to tell them that in the United States we do have a pretty busy scheduled with sports,
Yes.
kids in school. The moms have to do, usually moms, I'm not trying to be sexist, so usually moms, they have to be extremely busy with taking the kids from one place to the other event, and that requires a lot of energy, right?
Correct.
So you were having issues with day-to-day mobility?
Yep, I certainly was tired. I work full time. I've always worked full time. And then my life didn't stop when I came home. And because I had knee problems at this time, now, what did I want to do? I wanted to sit. I didn't want to do anything. I had achiness and pains in my knees, my joints, and just I just felt bloated all the time. It was just a horrible feeling. I was tired. I was tired. Um, it just an overall feeling of just wanting to go to bed, but I
Right.
couldn't,
Right.
and I knew that I couldn't, and I never really did because I had to keep going for my kids.
Well, maybe it was a good thing that you had the kids late. Right.
Absolutely. I always tell them that they've saved me.
Right. Because otherwise you probably didn't have any, okay. So sometimes people do get upset with me when I make these comparisons. I don't have kids, but I have a
Uh-huh.
puppy. So my puppy is whatever your kids to you, it's like same thing to
I
me.
get
So,
it.
and then they know, like my people here, my friends, they know how much like there's a connection there. And when I lost my 14-year-old golden doodle buddy 3 years ago, prior to that he was sick. So we were not able to walk. So
Yeah.
there was nothing to motivate me to go out and do stuff.
Right.
So, and I gained weight during that time. And then, of course, COVID didn't help.
Yeah.
As you know, like everyone was kind of doing less and less. So I got Joshua 3 months later, my other puppy. Now he's 3 years old. And number one, you actually don't have time to miss anyone because he keeps you really occupied and
Mm-hmm.
busy. But the best part is I have to go out and walk every
Yeah.
day. I have to do it. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the motivation. So hopefully you can
I
see where I'm coming
understand.
from, and I can fully understand what you mean when
Yeah.
they kind of motivate you to do things. Otherwise, it's going to be difficult to find reasons to do certain things, and so that's a good thing that happened.
Made a lot of excuses too during that time for myself too.
Right,
So,
right,
and you really do. You make up excuses instead of answers.
right.
And my answer was the bariatric surgery.
So now, in terms of nutrition and exercise regimen, what you do right now, how you adopt the new changes. What changes have you made from the nutrition standpoint?
Nutrition standpoint, I eat all the time. I have to honestly say, I really do.
Hmm.
It's just little bits all day long to keep my metabolism up. Um, I cannot sit and eat a full meal. Still to this day, I don't eat.
Hmm.
I won't eat it. It makes me feel horrible. Um, I compare it to when I was heavier. It made me feel horrible as well, eating so much.
Hmm.
Now I can't eat too much, and if I try to, and it just doesn't sit right with me. I get that tired, the fatigue, it's terrible. So I eat little meals every day. Every 2 hours, I'll eat something small. As far as exercise is concerned, it's 4 to 5 times a day. Excuse me, a week.
A week. Yep.
So I get my cardio in. I'm looking forward to spring so I can get back out to walking outside. I strength train
Hmm.
at least 3 to 4 times a week.
That's
Um,
that's good. What about any vitamins? Are you taking any from the keeping
yes,
the nutritions up?
ever since I had this surgery, I have taken my vitamins
Hmm.
that were prescribed, not prescribed, but were suggested when I
Suggested, yeah,
had this
they're over the
surgery.
counter.
And then I take a little bit extra, of course. I take a little extra B12. I
Hmm.
take a little extra B vitamins just because they give you energy and they make me
Right.
feel well.
And we don't get what we should be getting from the food,
Absolutely not.
unfortunately. So, since the fresh food is not always available,
Hmm.
so I think supplements are going to be they are the key. I take daily supplements.
Yeah.
I do this program with Dr. Irgau. He takes daily supplements. So, uh, and especially with uh, after certain age and certain conditions changes, so then you really need to support what you are going through, and the vitamins is essential. And I tell everyone that they should be on s- whatever is right for them. They should be definitely on their vitamins, and also like this comes down to the regular blood work that they need to do. Otherwise, they're not going to be able to know what's
Correct.
missing. Um, so we want to make sure that they get checked with their primary care physician, and also have their regular annual physicals done at a minimum. One of the things that I see with our patients, you probably get a lot of calls from us when we set up these appointments after the surgery. Normally, usually for the first couple, when 2 weeks and 1 month and 3 months, we don't have an issue. But when people start losing a lot of weight, and all of a sudden, month 12, I don't see people showing up for the appointments because they are successful in the short amount of time, and all of a sudden they don't follow through with those. Um, how was that for you? Did you actually regularly follow up with us?
I did all the regular follow-ups
Hmm.
uh, with Dr. Peters and his nurse practitioners.
Hmm.
And I do that to hold myself accountable
Hmm.
because you have to trust the process. And if you're struggling, they're a great resource.
Right.
As far as the nutritionists and things like that, they'll give you different, helpful hints. And I use them all throughout my journey for almost 5 years.
Right. Right. So
Yeah.
that's good to know. Now let's talk about the emotional journey and mental health.
Okay.
You mentioned earlier that this was before you went through the menopause, and you have kids at a later age,
Mhm.
and all those, now you have full responsibilities with the family. You have a full-time job. You have other obligations, and then you start struggling with the weight and made this decision. Tell us about the emotional journey of all this. What was going through in your mind?
At the point that I decided to have surgery, I was ready. And there wasn't a person that was going to ever talk me out of it. I had a very good friend of mine that went through this surgery, and she was very successful. Um, and at that point, there was no depression. I was upbeat, but I was very, very focused. I was doing it, and that was it.
Mhm.
I was done being heavy. I've been heavy all of my life. So you can imagine, you know, back when I was growing up and I was a teenager, um, obesity wasn't as big as it is now. I
Right.
mean, we have an epidemic with obesity. I
Mhm.
feel with children and
Right.
kids.
Right.
When I was growing up, everybody was 100 pounds soaking wet, and I wasn't that kid. I was always chunky and always had extra weight on me. So it had been a long time, 52 years of, not being able to find exactly what I wanted to wear, or not being able to, at that point, get on a roller coaster because I was too heavy and wouldn't,
Mhm.
fasten me correctly. And I wasn't able to, feel good walking and, and look good doing it. And that was very important. So I imagine if I didn't have this surgery, I would have been in a dark place
Mm.
because it was very important to me at that point that I wanted to feel good, I wanted to look good, and I wanted to stay healthy.
Well, I mean, I'm sure people who are seeing this episode now, they can probably see the same thing. You look extremely good for someone after 5 years after the surgery, and really, like this is, it's not like one of those before and after
Right.
shows. So you weren't extremely heavy before, but it was enough to bother you. Where I believe the BMI was 45,
Uh,
46. It wasn't
I don't
like,
even like to think that.
like we have right now, to your point earlier, like we have people with BMI 60, 65,
Yes.
70.
Yes.
Now, you're from our patient demographic standpoint, where you are is not the heaviest, or not on the
Right.
heavier side.
Right.
In fact, it's on the lower side of the spectrum from the bariatric surgery standpoint. And you, when you are saying what you are going through with these, and then imagine like those individuals who are BMI 67.
My
So we
heart
are trying
breaks
to
for
bring
them.
them, now with this emotional and mental journey side, social stigma is one of the big issues, and Dr. Ergan and I, we try to cover those issues here as much as possible and try to give enough support for those who are looking for solutions. Have you had any experience from your friends or other family? I know your family, immediate family, they supported you,
Correct.
but from other family members and from the friends, did you have any pushback?
I think the pushback was when people saw me, they were like, wow, you lost a lot of weight. Are you okay? And my
Mm.
answer to them was, yes, I'm fine. This is intentional. I'm feeling
Right.
great. Thank you. The stigma, as far as people thinking that I took the easy way out, and that's the stigma that I don't like about this
Hmm.
process. I could tell you that right now, I could probably gain weight if I didn't work the program.
Right. Right.
And the stigma was I took the easy way out. And it's not the easy way out.
It's not.
This is a tool that enabled me to see the possibility of how well I could feel. And um, and I do.
Hmm.
And I feel amazing. So what I tell people that have this stigma is it's not an easy way out. And I worked for every pound that I took off of my body.
Absolutely. And it's a big decision,
It's a
right?
huge decision. My
Uh,
daughter thought I was going to come home skinny, which was the
right after
funniest
the
thing.
surgery.
Yeah, my daughter was like, I thought you were just going to come home skinny. I said, no, it's just beginning, baby girl.
And
So,
I didn't ask you in the beginning, but for those who are watching, you had gastric sleeve,
correct.
right? So now, how did you make that decision, or did Dr. Peters make that decision for you? Like because you could
He,
have gastric bypass.
he gave me the option.
Okay.
He gave me the option, explained each procedure. He felt as though originally, back a long time ago when I saw Dr. Peters for the first time,
Hmm.
I when I saw him the first time, I was going to ask for the band.
Hmm.
And the band was huge, huge back. That was one of the first procedures. I
Right.
didn't qualify. And then finally, when I finally qualified, he gave me the option, and he also gave me a suggestion. He did say that he thought that the sleeve would work very well for me as long as I worked the program.
Hmm.
That's what he said to me. He told me that I would lose 80% of my weight and the other 20% I would work for. And he was absolutely accurate.
Right. So the excess weight.
Correct.
Yep. And you did. You did. So that's important. So in some cases, what happens? Patients they do come to us with already they made their mind up, and they really don't know much about all the different options. And what would be the best is at this point, like making sure that listening to the surgeon and understanding why you should be, like for example, in the cases where we have uncontrolled diabetes,
Right.
reflux disease, and GERD, and those types of issues, and the patient is in their late, maybe 50s, they may not have time for another surgery. So we may go with the bypass in those cases.
Right.
But if those comorbidities are not the case, then the gastric sleeve works the best. And now, how was the first week coming home, or first
Uh,
2 weeks perhaps?
well, like I said, I did this during COVID. So I literally was dropped off at Dr. Peters Surgery Center,
Hmm.
and I was there by myself for however long. I want to say I got there at 5 and I may have left around 6 p.m.
Hmm.
Um,
So
and
same day,
same day
right?
surgery, went home. I actually felt amazing the first day. The second day, I had a little soreness, um, but the first week was definitely an adjustment because I felt the restriction of not being able to eat what I was
Right,
used to. So
right.
now I'm thinking to myself, well, now what do I do? What do I, how I needed to get my nutrition in. So I sipped on protein shakes, I sipped on my water, and did everything that they asked me to do. Um, and within the first week or so, I was I was fine. I I was fine. Um, I felt amazing.
Hmm.
I felt better even the first week because I wasn't eating the foods that were ultimately killing me at that time.
Right, right.
I wasn't bloated. I felt great.
So, I mean, with the gastric sleeve, the portion that we remove from the stomach is also the portion that's responsible for uh,
Hunger.
the communication with the brain and telling the brain, "Hey, I'm hungry."
Yeah.
And then many people really don't understand that part. And as we go through those with Dr. Ergau in this show, uh, you know, I have to actually ask him again and again to make sure that people hear it repeatedly. So the part is not just making the stomach smaller, but the what's on the part that we removed, how that communicates, and main responsibility of telling the brain that, hey, I'm hungry, you send me more food,
Hmm.
that part is gone. So you probably also didn't feel hungry the way that you did before.
Yeah, that's a little different. That's a little tricky.
Okay.
So, and I'll say this because eating the way I was eating was a learned behavior.
Right.
So um, I had to learn to eat differently. It was a learned behavior how much to eat, and I wasn't hungry when I was eating.
Hmm.
So my body had to learn when it was hungry.
Hmm.
My body had to learn when to eat.
Hmm.
Um, it had to learn to be hungry. I found when I was heavier,
That's the habit.
it was a
Right.
habit. I was never hungry. I know that now. Like now when I'm hungry, I can say, let's go. I'm hungry.
Right.
So that was a tricky thing. And I think there's a lot of people that don't give themselves that chance after the surgery too, to learn their body all over again and realize that they have to learn when they're hungry.
Interesting.
It's a simple thing for most people, but
Hmm.
not for people that are used to abusing their body with food.
That is true. One of the issues that I see when you say abuse the body with food is, I think what food represents in our cultures. I was born and raised in Turkey. The food situation is a little bit worse than here in terms of pleasing people with
Yes.
food. So if we were in Turkey right now, so you would have so many, food on this table.
Hmm.
So like there are regular meetings that we have, and I go there. Uh, there's always something to eat.
It's social.
So it's a
It's a
social part,
social
and
thing.
but they're trying to please the other party, saying that, hey, I value you. Here's the food.
Yeah.
So, and we have something similar here, more controlled in our holiday seasons.
Hmm.
Thanksgiving is all about food.
Correct.
Christmas is not as much as Thanksgiving, but it's still a lot of parties and a lot of people getting together. And
Mhm.
when people get together, there are a lot of, again, food centered gatherings. How did you go through that process?
I ate when I was hungry. If I felt like having it, I tried it, saw how it sat well with my new stomach. Um, for about a year, I did not touch alcohol at all.
Hmm.
I wasn't even interested, and I'm not a big drinker anyway.
Okay.
That part of the social and the holidays was not a big deal for me. It was a thought in my head: how am I going to get through cooking Thanksgiving for my family, and what am I going to eat? Um, and I did just fine. I did just fine, and I actually came out of the holidays lighter than I went in.
Interesting.
So, and I limited myself to my plate, and my family will make fun of me still to this point. I will order a meal, and I'll sit back and I'll go, and then each and every one will say, "She's done." Because I can't do it.
Right.
But I put a tablespoon of everything that I loved on my plate at Thanksgiving, and I'm always the host. I would come back to that plate and just take a spoonful here and a spoonful there.
Hmm.
And that's the way I did it.
I see.
Yeah.
So, when uh, many people, what they don't perhaps understand is, I mean, you were at a point where you needed to have the surgery, and you did, and you are successful. But this struggling with the weight and weight gain is true for all of us.
Correct.
So, especially people who went through the COVID time, well, we all added at least 25, 30 pounds. Well, I at least did it, lost some of it later on, but that was a struggle. And as we are aging, our body is not the way that it was doing things before. Our metabolism is slower. So, in some cases, when I hang out with my friends and then when they see how much I eat, they're like, "You don't eat." I'm like, "Yeah," but then I know that I still struggle to keep my weight at a certain level. I do intermittent fasting Monday through Friday, like 17 hours, no food. So I have to watch the portions, make sure that I eat only half of it, whatever it comes, especially if we are eating out. From the beginning, I cut, like if I have any steak or anything, I cut it right in the middle. The other half goes to Joshua. The other, I eat the other half. So we put so much effort, even if we don't have the point of getting through the surgery. Not to get to that point, we have to put so much effort. Not to mention the physical activities. Like I have to keep myself at 10,000 steps on a daily basis, and if I'm down on one day, I have to make up next day. So it requires a lot of effort. So because it's so real from that point, I want people to understand that when someone is going through the surgery, the things are going to be more difficult for them. And I know holiday season usually is tough for many people in terms of surviving the weight gain
Yeah.
issues. So, but interesting part is like this relationship that we have with food is still not reconciled. Like we still have this, I need to get more, or I need this, and we don't need it,
No.
right? So,
Food is fuel,
right,
period.
right.
You
So
shouldn't be eating more than you need. And
exactly,
it was a long time for me to remember that. It was a
right,
long time. I mean, you have to, and I tell my kids that now. Like, food is fuel. That's the only thing you need it for.
right. It's not to please people. Although when you talk
Right.
to my mom, she's gonna be like, "Oh my God, my son has to eat, eat." And I'm like, "How much can I eat?"
Right. Well, my kids will tell me, it's interesting. My kids will tell me, and I'll bring home leftovers, or we'll be sitting at the table, and they have had a long conversation with
Mhm.
me and basically told me not to do this anymore. I would push my plate to them,
Mm.
and they don't want to eat my plate. They don't want to gain the weight. They want to maintain. But for the longest time, you cut something in half, and then I would push it to them, and they would eat. And then they wound up gaining a little bit, a few pounds here and there. And they said, please don't do that anymore. So mine goes right
Right,
in the to go. I normally have a couple stacks like that to eat throughout the weekend or whatever, because that's just the way it goes.
right.
I can't eat a full meal.
No,
Um,
that's good to hear. Now, let's talk about the support that you get from CRIAS.
mhm.
How was that before and after the surgery? Uh, did you work with one of our care managers, care coordinators who was calling for
Yes.
regular follow-ups? Was
Yes.
that helpful?
Yes. I met with a nutritionist a couple times after my surgery when I stalled.
Hmm.
So stalls are inevitable when you have the surgery.
Hmm.
Um, and I suggest people measuring, like actually, like,
Right.
measuring their waist and things like that. Because even if the scale's not showing it and you're working out, you're strength training, you're still probably losing inches. And at that point, I was actually stalled. And, they were really good tool. Um, I increased my water. They were very helpful with just going back to basics, like, hey, are you drinking your water? And when you think about it, I think I'm drinking my water, but I wasn't as diligent as I was
Right.
before.
Right.
So there was those going back to basic tools that
Hmm.
they said, are you doing this? Are you doing that? It made me accountable, and it made me want to take a good look at what I was doing to get off of that plateau that I was in, the stall that I was in. So they were very, very helpful.
No, that's good. So, what would be like some important advice that you would give for those who are considering the bariatric surgery right now? So, and they are the reason I'm asking this. I still do daily case conferences with our team, the team with nurses who are care managers, our facility, our practice, CRIAS, facility being the surgery center, American Surgery Center. And so we have our database and we go through each clearances that each steps that they need to do. There's a checkbox next to all of them to make sure that all clearances are done.
Right.
So pretty much getting the patient ready for the surgery. But then I see like everything is completed and it's almost like 12 steps, like between the nutrition, the cardiology, EGD, in some cases pulmonary, PCP clearance, and then blood work, right? And then all of a sudden they finish everything and then they
You
don't want to
drop off the
complete it.
schedule.
Right. So, knowing that this is a tough decision, but for those individuals especially, what would be your advice?
Trust the process, get the surgery, and work the program, because you will never once say that you regret it. They will not. That's what I would tell them. It's scary. Of course, it's major surgery, right?
Right.
People, but people are afraid to change.
Mm-hmm.
People are afraid that their life is going to be drastically changed.
Mm-hmm.
And when I tell you, it'll be drastically changed for the better in so many ways.
Right.
And that's what I would tell people. But they have to trust the process. They have to do the research. They have to learn about these surgeries. They have to know what pre-op, post-op. I see oftentimes people on social media saying that they have to say goodbye to food. And I say, maybe some stuff, because it's not going to fit right in your stomach. It's going to make you feel sick. But it's not the end of the world because you can't have a milkshake. It's not the end of the world because you can't have a Snickers bar. It'll never kill you for not having it.
Right.
So what's going to kill you is the obesity and everything that comes along with it, the diabetes, the high blood pressure, and
depression.
Depression. And it's a better way of life all the way around when you have the weight off of you.
Right.
You can do so much more with your life and feel so much better.
So the surgery, we always say this, it's not a magic. It's an extremely powerful tool.
Correct.
And in many cases, especially with weight loss, what motivates us better is if we know that we have like a jump start. And we want to see the results quickly in many cases. And if we are able to give that to those patients in the beginning for the first 3 to 6 months, and they see a significant change, getting through that, and then you mentioned earlier what Dr. Peters told you with the 80%, 20%, that 20% that patient still needs to work on their own, and getting to that 100% goal would only be possible with a powerful tool. So like when we say tool, what I mean is like if let's say your house from here is 10 miles, you can go there with a bicycle or you can go there with a car. And the car is gonna make this quicker. At some point you'll end up going there with the bicycle, but it's not gonna be as easy and as quick. And if it's not 10 miles and if it's 50 miles, then it's gonna be even more difficult. So we need this most powerful tool to fight the obesity, morbid obesity, and that is the bariatric surgery. But still seeing those patients, and it's kind of like not upsetting. It's more like I'm concerned about those individuals. And hey, like you finished everything. What scared you at the last minute?
Right.
And although it's a major surgery, as you mentioned, you went home same day,
Yes.
right? So, and you had your surgery in 2020, and since then, actually, we got more efficient in a way where now patients stay 6 hours after their surgery. So
That would be
usually
amazing.
they go a little bit earlier than you did,
Yeah.
and if it was done in the hospital, they have to stay overnight.
Hmm.
Maybe in some cases they keep them more. And we have the best surgeons, not just in Delaware, but uh, probably in the United States in bariatric. Dr. Wynn, Dr. Irgau, Dr. Peters, Dr. Singh, they're extremely good with the bariatric surgery, and being able to do it in the specialized setting
Hmm.
and then being able to send a patient home same day. We're not pushing anyone out. It's just like we
You're
are able
ready.
to have this, it's under control. It's not like someone who has to stay in the hospital for a week. And that's part of it is because of our process, the screening process. Um, and I really want everyone who is at this point to make this decision and take advantage of this, because uh, usually when they come back, they are at least 10 to 15% heavier than where they left off. And having this session with someone who went through the surgery, when it's me and Dr. Irgau talking about it, you know, people they see this in a different way, they understand it in a different way. But you went through this,
I did.
and we didn't pay you to do this, right? And this
Nope.
is the second time, and I feel really bad because we didn't even, you know, we didn't pay you for this, and you wanted to do it. So, because there's also that. Um, Perhaps some responsibility you feel like, hey, more people should be taking advantage of that. That's kind of how I feel when patient drop at the last minute. I'm like, ah, like don't
Yeah.
do it, don't do it.
I kind of want people to feel like I feel
Right,
amazing.
right.
That's why. I want everybody to, you know, if they're struggling, this is a great tool. It's amazing.
It is.
And it's not scary. It's not.
Well, anything else you would like to add?
Hmm.
Support group. We have one on Facebook.
Hmm.
You are participating there, if I'm
I
not.
do.
Yeah,
I do watch the. I think they're Friday afternoons
yeah,
on
yeah.
Facebook that I do.
Right.
I do click on them.
So, but do you actually do any exchange with people who, because that's a private group, the one in Facebook?
Right.
Do you do any exchanges with other patients
I don't.
in terms of recipes? And there are sometimes I see questions that they have, they post. Uh, do you
I
have?
will. I will encourage people that are like moving through the process.
Mhm.
There's a group that I belong to on Facebook that if I see people saying that they, you know, they're regretting even starting the process or, they're
Mhm.
just in a, I will say, trust the process. Let's
Yeah,
get it done.
usually what I see even after the surgery, they stay there, uh, and we do actually monitor that so then people are not doing any promotional stuff. But
Yeah.
I see people exchanging recipes
Yes.
and ideas, and some of them they go through their pain. Some what I see when they post, "Hey, I lost this much," and they put their before and after
Hmm.
picture. I'm like, so
Yeah.
that's extremely
I've never
satisfying,
done that. I've
right?
never done before and after pictures on social media. I just I've never posted. Obviously, they're going to be there now.
Yeah.
but but
But they won't believe how great this changes. I mean, you look
yeah.
like a movie star. So,
And I feel like a movie star. I do. On a general, I have enough energy every day to get up and go through life.
right.
And that's the most important part of this whole thing is I have a life where I'm not tired. I feel amazing and I honestly want everybody to feel like this. And if that's the only advice that I can give somebody that's thinking about backing out of the surgery, give yourself a chance. Do it for you because when you do it for you, it it'll be life changing.
Well, Karen, thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome.
Thank you for making the time. Thank you for driving up here. I know you have at least an hour drive one way, and we really do appreciate this. And
My
it
pleasure.
also makes our show more dynamic and more real when patients are participating. Now, the commitment from the surgeon also is extremely important, and I always do it with another surgeon, and that's usually Dr. Irgau. On the 21st, Dr. Win is going to join us, and every once in a while we change the surgeons, but we have our webinars on second and the fourth Tuesday of every month. There's a support group that Dr. Win manages first Tuesday of every month. And this is a program that tries to help everyone pre or post surgery. And we want to make sure that we can help people. We want to make sure that the message that people need to get and learn about the morbid obesity is readily available for them. That's why we do this every Friday. And again, we appreciate for your time, and then hoping that we can maybe in the future we can get you back in a
Absolutely.
different
Be my
episode.
pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.